All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dowell, and this is
Elder Becker.
Elder Becker. Hey, we're in here brainstorming, and we're speaking and we're talking. And of course, I want to title this, people who they want to be part of a community, but they don't want to first be a part of the ministry. Over and over and over again, Elder Doug receives calls almost on a weekly basis of people who want to come and be a part of this community, but then they don't want to be a part of the ministry, which is utterly amazing, because the way that you actually get on a viable, functioning community is by first being a part of the ministry.
Absolutely.
So we can evaluate you. What do you have to say to that, Elder Doug?
Well, absolutely, because it's part of the ministry and developing, your mind based on the truth of Yah's word that actually helps you prepare for this kind of lifestyle. Because it came out, in the early assembly, this was the order to the assembly that, you get together, you share all things in common, rejoin as Yah's people. But it came first through the avenue of the preaching of the gospel, the Old Testament, to prepare your mind to live like this, because it's a life of sacrifice, selflessness, and unless your mind changes, you're not going to develop that kind of care.
And that's the reason why that we ask over and over and over again, when people call here, do we know you? Have we known you? How many times have you been to the feast days, the meetings? What type of fellowship do you have with saints in your geographical location? All of these are questions, because these questions are giving us an idea of the type of person that you really truly are.
Exactly. Yes, they are. We can, you can actually, by being immersed in the ministry, being part of the ministry and coming to the events like Pastor just said, being joined in the fellowship, it gives you an idea of how we live as Israelites, how we've gathered together Israelites, and it helps to remove a lot of the preconceived ideas and determinations that when people want to come and live in a community, they have a certain mindset outside of what Yah's word says of how Yah's people live, and then they come to these things, they come to fellowship, or they believe that they can move this way. We've had people just show up out of the blue with that same kind of mind, and they get sadly disappointed because they weren't ready for it, and we're certainly not ready for it, because we understand what somebody with a mind that's not set, a heart that's not set for it, can actually do to the whole.
We have no doubt, ever since this entered into our hearts some time ago, and that some time ago was just about 2 decades ago. As a matter of fact, it's right at it, because we had steps and changes that we actually went through, steps and changes that we implemented prior to getting here on the community. It was a sacrifice of this first, number one, the mind. We made it known to those who are desiring to be on community. And that's not necessarily straightway, because communities, we have successful communities that are already functioning, that are coming up and in the ministry of straightway. But I think one of the biggest problems is that people just seem to simply cannot get clear-cut communication. The reason why we want you to make yourself known, that's because you get to know us, we get to know you, because we need to know them that are laboring amongst us.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, as you were speaking, I'm just thinking about how Yeshua goes to prepare a place for us. Yeah, we get to know him. He knows us already, obviously, but we can be ready for the place through the time of gaining knowledge, experience, and understanding. So when finally the breath goes out of our body, if we've held to the righteous way and we're committed to the kingdom of the Most High, the place is ready, committed, and prepared, and we can just move right on in, so to speak, if I can use that analogy.
And what we're constantly experiencing over and over again is people who assume that they are prepared and ready for the place. The places are being prepared, but the truth is people are not prepared for the places.
Yes, sir.
And there's something about this American society that has not taught people what it means to sacrifice. What it means to actually obey. You can't do this thing haphazardly. You can't do it with a half heart and then expect for it to work. And that's the reason why it's important that people be of one mind. It's the reason why it's important that people have the same spirit with the same goal. Elder Doug and I was talking earlier, and we begin to think about just community in general, because we don't want to be ones that present themselves as if we are the be all, end all, and know all, because we're still learning. And we've been doing this for 2 decades now, 18 years out here on the community, boots on the ground. But, we don't want to be the ones to act like that we understand every aspect of it that there is and stuff. But the one dynamic that we do have, where others don't have, that is literal experience. And experience gives you a plethora of wisdom and knowledge to be able to know how to cope, not only cope, but to deal with people in general in life. Because there's this old statement out there said, a new broom sweeps well. And it does. It sweeps well. It picks up very well. And you wish that broom could function like that the whole entire time. But the reality of it is that it doesn't. You're really truly not going to know the quality of that type of broom until it's been used for a while.
Yeah, sure. And then the other thing that comes to my mind as we're talking is it's a commitment. We were out there functioning as Gentiles. We committed easily to everything that would benefit us, but it seems like a lot of times when we come into the faith that there's a refusal to commit to the thing that's going to bring us eternal life. That's the same with moving on to a community, that it's all about commitment. It's all about looking out for the whole, not for the self anymore. So again, it's back to a change in mind. It is what the Gospels teach. It is what the Tanakh teaches. It's what Yah teaches people about esteeming one another above each other in this work, in love's sake.
Elder Doug brought up a very good point, about the kingdom. For instance, the Messiah said he is going away to prepare a place for us. Now, we have to be accounted worthy to be able to enter into that place.
Exactly.
And right now, we're on the testing ground, the proving ground, and the trying ground. In other words, there's no need in reinventing the wheel. And that's the same thing that we do. And the reason why that we're very apprehensive and very discerning concerning who we're going to allow to live on one of our communities is not that we do not want people on the communities, because we want the people there who Yah wants there.
Absolutely.
That's the sole purpose of us existing and living, because we understand the joys, we understand the peace and the contentment and the shalom that is here because of living set apart. But many of you have really truly got to come to the reality that you have not really truly matured in the faith. You have not worked on yourself like the book teaches. You have not practiced what Paul taught, which would, we need to be dying daily.
Yes.
And if you don't do these things, you're going to have the mind to return back to the same thing that you come from, simply because your natural flesh simply can't hack it. What I was speaking about earlier is that, you see, this is, and I'm going to try to give wisdom, hope you're listening. We live on this community, and we live on this community right now because we know that the transition, moving from the world to the community, it's a culture shock for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But we still, as you can see, I have electricity here. And we're slowly but surely moving towards independence or solar. But at the same time, we had a tornado come through here a few years ago. And we, nobody had electricity. We have prepared the community to be able to function with or without electricity. So the wisdom is, and that's the reason why that we have some modern day conveniences, because most people just simply have a hard time of transforming their mind or actually making this change.
It can be, if you're not prepared, if you haven't done the due diligence out there before you actually come in this way or desire to come into a community. It can be a mind shock. It can be a cultural shock, and it can, more importantly, a spiritual shock. This is an effort. It's a labor, but if it's a labor of love, it's an enjoyment. If it's a labor of just to do it of duty, then there's no enjoyment in it at all. So it's again a changing of the mind, being prepared for living with Yah's people.
Whether we like it, comprehend it, understand it or not, we all are going to be in some form of community in this life. be it the community out there in the world, rubbing elbows with the heathen every single day, house and community, or either choosing to live with the saints and making the sacrifice, and then going on to perfection. I will say, because of experience, as well as Elder Doug, and I'm sure he'll agree with my sentiments, that there's no way that we could have been and still are in the process of being perfected like we are now if we stayed out there in that world.
Yeah, and you can measure your own, where you're at in your own depth, your own commitment by what you're doing out there right now outside of actually living in a community. Are you in your word all the time? Are you continually in prayer? Are you doing the things that edify the spirit and get your mind prepared? Are you storing up food? Are you doing the things out there so when you come this way and then you become part of the whole and basically get examined so we can test your spirit, measure your spirit, try your spirit? Are we going to know that you're somebody that already has a mind that's geared up to move this way? Because the proof is in the pudding, as they so to speak, if you can understand what I mean.
It's true. And, there's no way you can get around it. When you look at the Brit Hadashah, or what is commonly referred to in the New Testament, and you see what the Messiah said, and then you watch how the apostles implemented in the book of Acts what the Messiah said, what we're doing is right. It's just flat out right. It's biblical. It's tribal. It's Hebraic. It's the culture of the Israelites. It's just that many people are finding out they are not as in depth of Israel,
yes, sir,
as they thought that they were.
Yeah, and you can see that by the Exodus, that when they were all together, living together, dwelling in tents, in the wilderness experience, that very few came out of that. The book of Jude reflects that. The Torah reflects that. Not many that came out of there saved. Book of Hebrews talks about the same thing. They had a belief that they were, but when they actually went into the experience, their mind was said that they could do it, but when they went through the experience, they actually found out that they had the desire for the things that were behind them, things that made them comfortable.
The leeks, the onions, and the garlic.
Yeah.
And the blueprint is there again. I'll say it again and again. It's not that it can't be done. It's that people won't get it done. But I will tell you this. We are in the green. In other words, this is very easy to live this way here now. And we have yet to actually have a wilderness experience. But I would venture to say that we in the ministry of Straightway, we are more ready than people out there who do not or would not take the opportunity to actually live in community this way. What would you say, Elder Doug?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, our own history dictates that those that believe that they were ready because they couldn't commit to this, that they fell away. They just couldn't do it. So it takes a hardy type of mind. It takes a real commitment. I keep using the word, but that's what it is. It takes a self-sacrifice. But all this preparation that we're doing now, choosing to live this way, having a commitment to live this way, making the sacrifices, is all in preparation for the future. That's what people forget. They always focus on the present, the now, but everything is because without a vision, the people perish. So we have the vision now, we're establishing it, so when the future gets here, we'll be ready for it. And I wouldn't say we're just going to ease into it, be a whole lot more digestible when we get there than it would be for others that don't commit to it.
Exactly.
Push forward to it. Yeah.
I hope, and that is only a hope. It's only a hope. And don't get me wrong. We have our set of enemies out there who fancy themselves as our judges, while they have given up nothing. They have tried nothing. They have been testing in nothing. Yet and still, we continue to keep on trucking on because we know for a fact that what we're doing is right and is spiritually edifying. Mm-hmm. People come to Straightway and all the time. And I mean, we're in the dead season now, and there's hardly ever a week or two that even passes without somebody visiting, and they always receive such edification. They leave on a spiritual high, and some of them leave with the ambitions and the joy to actually wanting to be on a community, something like this. Yes, but again, you're never really truly going to know the type of person who you are until you are tested and until you are tried. Because remember, through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom of Yah. I want to leave you with this thought right here. If you can't make it, if you cannot make it right now, even just making the sacrifices to get free and to come out and to be ye separate, saith Yah, and touching not the unclean thing, and come out from among them, coming out of her. And you can't be content doing that. Then how in the world are you going to be content to be part of that remnant that's going to be part of the woman flying into the wilderness who had a place prepared for her? Because that wilderness experience is going to be another test, another proving, and another trying ground to see if we're going to be able to be counted worthy to inherit the kingdom. I'm telling you, it's pretty easy right now. But the reason why it's not so easy with a lot of people is because the way of the transgressor is hard. I'll leave you with the last word, Elder Doug.
Really, we much of what was just spoken in this short video again was for edification. It's an encouragement that you get out there as Yah's people, actually exercise, put into exercise the thing that we've demonstrated here for 18 years, and we'll continue on. That it is doable. That we're definitely the evidence that and again that there's other people out there that are doing this. They're not and it can make it work if the mind is right, made up. So just prepare your hearts, do those things now, which will prepare yourself to come in this type of atmosphere, and then when we meet you, we'll be able to know better, know more about you, know where you're at as a person, spiritually, naturally, and all those things. So it's about all I got, Pastor.
Remember what this video was about. It was about people wanting to be a part of the community, but not part of the ministry. Wisdom is make yourself known. Hope y'all have a wonderful day. The King is coming.
Shalom.